official book club selection, and it is in stores now. Now, one thing that is surprising about you that is in your book is how real you are, how raw you are. People look at you as this comedian, like everything is funny, 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 but there's some deeper things. I know one thing.
Yeah, there's stuff that definitely is not on the D list. It's not on my act. And I thought if I was going to write a book, if you're going to pay your hard-earned money, then you should hear something that you haven't heard before. And
tell us about your brother.
Okay, so when I was writing this book, I thought about the books that I read, and a lot of my comedians, like Joan Rivers, wrote a book, and actually Barbara Walters' book Audition, and you know, she was pretty out there. And so my brother Kenny, who has since passed away, he went to prison. He was a homeless crackhead. He was a pedophile, and it was a very tough thing for my family, obviously, and it had a really, really big influence on me. And
how much older than you?
He was 20 years older than me.
20 years.
Yeah, and having somebody like that in your family, it's probably the most divisive thing I can think of. And coming from Irish Catholic family, you're not supposed to talk about that. And you know, as you guys know, even from my act, I just don't believe in secrets. And I think he's actually the one who taught me that in a very twisted way. I learned some important lessons from him. And one of them is secrets do nothing but fester, and they hurt people. And so when it's such a serious issue, you know, pedophilia, and for me it was very separate from his drug addiction, which I would have been able to handle. Yeah. But, you know, the stuff with the kids and...
Did he ever try to do anything to you?
Yeah, he used to do stuff like, you know, when I was a little tiny kid, like a little 6, 7 years old, he would come and crawl into bed with me and like whisper sweet nothings in my ear and stuff that was creepy. I mean, look, there are, you know, many women who had a much more difficult time than I did, for sure. But let me tell you, if you were, are you kidding? If you walked in and you saw a 30-year-old guy in bed with a 7-year-old whispering sweet nothings in her ear, no. And you know, so I became estranged from him, and my family dealt with it all very different ways. And my family's awesome. You know, my brother is a brilliant attorney, and my brother John is funny and bright and a great dad. My sister Joyce has been teaching in the hood for decades, and you know, she's just really doing the Lord's work. You know, and my dad passed away, and he was so wonderful. My mom, as you guys know her from the deal, she's awesome. And
what was it like for your parents to have a child? They had a child that was a pedophile.
Well,
because you don't think of pedophiles as being part of families, if that makes sense.
Well, let me just say, you know, this was a time when that word almost didn't exist for us. I mean, you know, I'm 48. This stuff, I started hearing about it probably when I was, you know, 10, 11, 12 years old. And he was in long-term relationships, and actually a couple separate, these women told me about it. And then his own behavior with me led to red flags. And so I became estranged from him later in life. And in fact, it became a difficult thing for the rest of my family because, you know, I would tell my parents that I wasn't going to come to Christmas until he would leave and stuff like that. And obviously, they put them in a tough position. And I've talked to many experts about this, as have you. And obviously, denial is a big part of it. And you think it's going to be proven, and people want this proof. And, you know, so one time he called the house when I was at my mom and dad's, and I picked up the phone and I started screaming, and my dad said, you know, stop it, and why are you doing this? And, you know, I said, Dad, I just can't get over this. And my dad finally confronted my brother after all those years and said, you know, Kathleen thinks you're a pedophile. That's what this is about. And my brother's response to my dad was, I do what I do. So there you go. I think if someone accused you of being a pedophile, you wouldn't say, I do what I do. Yeah. So, you know, it's a difficult topic, and unfortunately, I couldn't write the book without writing about him. Yeah. It just would tell the truth. That's kind of the whole story, in other words. So truth-telling, secrets never quite work.
When's the last time you saw him?
I saw him literally on his deathbed. I didn't see him for many years. And then when he was, I believe he was actually brain dead, he was in the hospital, and my mom asked me to just go and sort of say goodbye. And so I was able to say goodbye. But, you know, it was interesting. I was actually frightened of him until the day he died. Wow. And as he was older, he became homeless and addicted to drugs, etc. But, you know, I saw him be extremely violent with his wife in front of me as a little kid and all that stuff. And, you know, it's funny, I hear when I watch documentaries or whatever about this, I understand how someone can be afraid of this person, even though they may be older or look frail. I believe it's all psychological.
This whole psychological thing. I have people that I'm scared of to this day. Yeah. Not something that's serious, but, you know, bullies from youth and stuff.
Well, that's my whole life. That's my whole act.
You still get scared.
Sure, it's fighting back and being a big mouth and trying to take on bullies, all that stuff,
I know your ex-husband's also another difficult topic. Somebody that you trusted, you know, and
somebody that I thought I knew, that I was married to, that I think maybe the whole time I didn't really know.
He was stealing from you.
Look, you know, fell in love with this guy, and he's a very bright guy, and I really do wish him the best. It's funny, I don't know why I don't really have anger toward him, but once again, I had to write about it in the book because the point is to write about, you know, my life or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I found out that, and we were actually taping the D-List when it happened, but I found out that for 2 years, when I was asleep, he would sneak into my wallet in a different room, take out my ATM cards, go to an ATM machine, withdraw $1,500, put the ATM cards back in my wallet before I woke up, off and on for a period of 2 years. And so,
and how much money did he steal?
Well,
total?
he stole, I've never really done the calculation for that. It was like 72 grand.
$72,000.
$72,000.
Of ATM.
Yeah.
People go to the ATM and take a 20 out. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
you know,
if you can just imagine the...
Yeah, but
That's
also
a lot
just
of money.
knowing that it was happening systematically and it wasn't a one-time impulse thing, and you know, it was
What does
hard
that
because
make you, like, when you go back and you think about that, Kathy? Because I would go crazy. You know, you're in the bed with this person, you're living with them, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would freak out.
you question everything.
Everything.
I question the vows. I question everything.
Yeah. Why do you think he did it? Do you think he?
You know what the hardest part is? I never know to this day. To this day, I don't know what he did with the money. I don't know why he did it.
Did he have money?
He didn't have. I mean, he had a job, but he didn't have like great money. But he certainly. I mean, I sort of provided everything, frankly.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I wanted to write about it because I think it's getting more prevalent for women. I think gender politics are reversing, and there's probably a lot of couples now where the woman either makes more money than the man or whatever. But you know, I just didn't see a point in not telling the truth about it. I mean, it happens.
Another thing that you talk about is the liposuction and almost dying from it.
Oh, the botch. Well, let me tell you something. There are plastic surgery photos in this book that are like CSI crime scene. I mean, horrible.
Of your body?
Yeah, because there's one that's when I had lipo. I had lipo all
Is that
the way.
you?
Okay, ladies, when you want to be thinner and get lipo, that's what it looks like. So take a good hard look.
What is it?
And that's me. Yeah. I know. I know, it's disgusting. I know, it's completely disgusting. And I thought long and hard, because obviously they're embarrassing pictures, but I thought, you know what, I want people to know, like, oh, I'm gonna get lipo, it'll be great. That's what it looks like.
And then how did you almost die from it?
Because the doctor botched the job, as you can see, and I don't think it's supposed to look like that. I don't know.
But like, what is the purple and the
I know,
orange?
major, and I had it all over, and it's a disgusting procedure. It's like they take like a knitting needle and they try to suck the fat out of you, and it's really horrible.
Yeah.
And so,
but why did you get it? Because you look so small. I mean, of course, that's after the surgery, but you still look very small.
You know what? I was completely fine and completely thin, and yet I just thought that I should be thinner, thought that, you know, people on TV are thinner, and I had this really ridiculous number in my head. I should weigh 110. I think I weighed 110 in 8th grade, but I had this silly number in my head that I was determined to reach and felt I couldn't.
Talk about that, Kathy, to me, because as a comedian, we see you laugh, but they always say that it comes from pain, that comedians are covering the pain with laughter.
I think that's a classic story. I really do. I mean, most comedians that I know, a lot of comedy does come from pain. And absolutely, when something traumatic happens to me, I mean, actually, you probably do it with your show. You probably start to think, could this be an episode? Can I help people with this? I always think, can I make it funny? Literally, no matter what, if it's the silliest little thing or something that makes me burst into tears, I just start to think, how can I make this funny? Because that's how I get through stuff. And when people send me emails and they came to one of my live shows or whatever, and I love hearing, you know, I was having a tough day and I got a good laugh. And for me, that's what life's all about.
When's the last time you cried?
I cry all the time.
Really?
Oh,
do you know what the last time was about?
This is really embarrassing. I cry on airplanes all the time. Like, if you're a flight attendant, you're just going to think I've lost my mind. Because I don't know, there's something about being on a plane, and I usually bring my laptop, and I catch up on shows, and I love dramas. Like, I love Grey's Anatomy, or, you know, like serious drama shows. And I'll just be that crazy person on the plane sitting there
crying
sobbing.
because of the story.
I'm going to actually kind of catch a flight after this, and I'll cry all the way to Los Angeles.
Watching TV on the plane?
Yeah, I'm actually rewatching episodes of ER.
And crying.
And crying at ER, because I don't know why. I think it's going to happen to me or something.
Well, we have to take a break. But before you just started making the jokes, which are hilarious, I saw this, like, little sweet, soft girl.
No, you can't. You're going to ruin my career.
I'm totally sorry.
Take it back. How dare you?
I'm so not taking it back. We'll be right back.
You better take it back.